Hello and welcome back to Totally Abstracted. I'm Michelle and today we're exploring something that every creative person, no matter how experienced or talented, will face at some point in their journey. Those quiet, uncertain stretches when inspiration seems to vanish into thin air. You know those times, don't you? Maybe your paints are calling to you less often. Maybe you've stood in front of a blank canvas, brush in hand, palette ready, but just felt nothing. No spark, no direction, no pull towards anything, just silence. It's uncomfortable and sometimes it's downright scary, especially if creating has always been your refuge, your way of processing the world. But today I want to explore what it means to sit with that silence, to not fight it or berate ourselves for it, but to listen and eventually find a way back to creating again with renewed clarity and purpose. So that weight of stillness, I've been there more times than I can count. There was a time last year when I hit a wall. Creativity-wise, I felt completely empty. I'd walk into my room and feel almost alienated from it, like I was standing in someone else's creative space. The brushes, the paints, my favourite palette knife and catalyst wedge, they all seemed to belong to some other artist, not me. Now, these fallow periods happen for all sorts of reasons. Sometimes it's after a particularly big creative push, when you've poured everything into your work for weeks or months. The creative well simply runs dry and needs time to refill. But other times it's connected to life stuff. Exhaustion, grief, overwhelm, even joy. Our creative selves are deeply tied to our emotional and physical selves, and when something's off balance in our hearts or bodies, it often shows up first in our art. I used to panic when that stillness crept in. I'd question everything about my identity as an artist. Am I really blocked? Have I lost my spark? What if I never feel inspired again? And who am I if I'm not creating? The anxiety would build and I'd try to force something, anything, onto canvas or paper. And predictably, those forced pieces would feel hollow, contrived, and disconnected from any authentic expression, which would only reinforce the feeling that I'd somehow lost it. But I've slowly come to see that these quiet periods are not creative failures. They are fertile ground, not barren wasteland, but rest in earth. So not an ending, but a necessary pause in the cycle. So what if we didn't call it a drought at all? What if we saw it instead as deep gathering? Like the way the ocean pulls back before a wave forms. There's this natural rhythm of retreating and returning. When we're not actively producing, our creative mind is often working beneath our awareness, collecting impressions, processing experiences, slowly weaving together fragments of inspiration into something that hasn't yet taken shape. It's the winter season of creativity. On the surface, the landscape appears dormant, but underground, roots are strengthening, energy is being stored, and preparations for new growth are happening in ways we can't see. And sometimes the worst thing we can do is force it. Pushing creativity when it needs to gather is like trying to harvest before the season is right. We end up with something that isn't fully formed, something that hasn't had the chance to develop its full richness and complexity. I've learned to recognise these gathering periods as essential parts of my creative cycle. They're not empty spaces, they're filled with potential. They're not absences, they're presence of a different kind. During these times, I found it helpful to shift my focus from production to reception. So instead of asking, what can I create today? I ask, what can I notice today? A particular quality of light through the trees, the pattern of raindrops on a window, small moments of attention that can become the seeds of future work. There's a special kind of alchemy that happens in these quiet intervals. When we're not looking directly at our art, experiences settle differently. Colours reveal nuances we hadn't noticed before. And when we do return to the canvas, we bring with us a different depth, a different understanding than we had before. So how do we begin again when we feel so far away from our creative selves? Here are a few things that have helped me find my way back. Firstly, lower the bar completely. And I mean completely. Don't set out to make anything good or successful or even interesting. Just move paint around. Smudge, scribble, spill. Make marks that have no meaning. Spread colour with no purpose. And let your hands remember what it feels like to play without judgment. Limit the time. Set a timer for 10 minutes. That's all. No pressure to continue. No expectation of a masterpiece. Just enough time to be with the materials, to dip a toe back in the water. Sometimes 10 minutes will be enough and you'll put it away feeling satisfied. Other times you'll find yourself still painting an hour later, having completely lost track of the time. Also try changing your tools. Sometimes our usual materials carry too much expectation, so ditch the familiar brushes and grab something unexpected, a kitchen sponge, an old credit card, a stick from the garden. It disrupts the patterns, brings a sense of play and lowers the stakes because, well, who expects to make great art with a dishwashing sponge? Work on old paper too, or fail materials or scrap materials. I keep a stash of failures that I can paint over. Those abandoned pieces, the ones that never quite worked. Using them removes the fear of ruining something new and precious. There's freedom in working over something that's already spoiled. You have nothing to lose. And stay off social media if it makes you compare your fallow period to others' productivity. Instagram especially can be brutal when you're in a quiet season. All those perfectly curated feeds showing finished piece after finished piece. It's easy to feel like you're the only one struggling. So go inward instead. Reconnect with your own creative rhythm, not the pace others are setting. Engage your other senses. Go for walks. Watch the sky change at different times of day. Listen to music with your eyes closed, just feeling it move through you. Cook a meal, focusing on the colours and textures of the ingredients. These aren't distractions from making art, they're invitations to notice differently. Inspiration doesn't always knock loudly. Sometimes it's a whisper you'll miss if you're not paying attention. Keep a journal, not to draw in, just to collect small observations. The particular green of new spring leaves, the way shadows pattern a wall at 4 p.m, the smell after rain. These become a reservoir you can draw from when you're ready to create again. And be gentle with your expectations. When you do start making again, your work might feel different. You might not pick up exactly where you left off. And that's not only okay, it's exactly as it should be. You're not the same person you were before the pause, and your art shouldn't be either. What I've come to believe over these years of navigating these cycles is this: inspiration never fully leaves us. It just sometimes changes shape. It gets quiet when we're noisy with self-judgment and expectation. It waits patiently for us to slow down, to make space. It speaks a different language during these times, one of stillness, curiosity and play, rather than production and performance. So I think of it like the difference between shouting and whispering. When we're desperate to create, when we're forcing it, we're essentially shouting at our muse, "Come back, I need you now." And in response to that demand, that anxiety, she retreats further. But when we soften, when we stop demanding and start inviting, when we create space without expectation, that's when she returns. Not as a lightning bolt of inspiration, but as a flicker, a tug, a brushstroke that feels alive, a colour combination that makes your heart beat a little faster. So this week I want to offer you a gentle invitation. Spend just 10 minutes making art with no plan, no expectation and no goal. Pick up a tool, any tool, smear some colour, scribble, tear, layer, just play. Let it be messy, let it be nothing, let it be something. Just let it be. If 10 minutes feels too long, make it 5. And if you feel like sharing what emerges, even if it's just a single mark that made you feel something, even if it's just a few words about what it felt like to sit with your materials again, come join us in my Abstract Horizons membership. Remember, these small, seemingly insignificant moments are often where the most important shifts happen. The tiny green shoot that becomes the oak tree, the first tentative brushstroke that leads in time to a whole new body of work. Creative droughts aren't failures or deficiencies. They're part of the rhythm of a creative life. A breath in, a waiting room, a quiet place where something new is forming, just beneath the surface, out of sight but very much alive. They're the seasons when we gather rather than express, when we fill rather than empty, and when we listen rather than speak. So if the muse is silent right now, if you're not in that space of making things, then know that it's okay. More than okay. It's necessary. She's not gone. She's just waiting for you to meet her in the stillness where a different kind of conversation can happen. Thank you for joining me today on Totally Abstracted. May you find softness in the silence and trust in the quiet. Until next time, stay inspired, be gentle with yourselves, and as always, keep things totally abstracted.